According to a former Liberal cabinet minister's cryptic letter, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the World Economic Forum have secretly teamed up in a troubling plot against this country. Their goal to completely take over and dismantle Canadian sovereignty, changing Canada's free and democratic society into a technocratic nightmare without basic freedoms. This alarming confidential letter shreds any pretense that the WEF lacks undue influence over Canada. It definitively confirms what many Canadians have long suspected, that Canada's democracy has been hijacked from within. The correspondence from a former Liberal minister points to extensive concealed collaboration between the WEF globalists and the Trudeau government. They are working closely together on secret projects aimed at limiting the rights and independence of Canadians. Trudeau has sold Canadian families to foreign interests determined to tear apart the fabric of this nation. Globalists now dictate Canada's path forward, with puppets like Trudeau happy to betray us for prestige and power. What disastrous WEF project will Trudeau eagerly sign Canada onto next? Welcome back to Street Politics Canada. Before we start today's video, take a quick second to subscribe to our US-based channel, Street Politics USA, where we report daily uncensored US news and how the unfolding political landscape can impact Canada. You can find the link in the description below. A bombshell discovery has confirmed the worst fears of many Canadian citizens. The World Economic Forum, or the WEF, has infiltrated the highest levels of government and is secretly plotting with Trudeau to impose their agenda on the country. A cryptic letter uncovered from former Liberal Minister of Finance Bill Morneau shows him heaping effusive praise on the WEF for their support of the Canadian government. The letter, obtained through an Access to Information request, reads, "I would also like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation to the WEF staff for the support provided to the Government of Canada." This letter shreds any pretense that the WEF does not have undue influence over Canada and proves that a dangerous globalist cabal has captured Canada's democracy. The letter points to extensive collaboration between the WEF and Liberals on concealed projects that undermine Canadian independence and freedom. The shocking revelation in Morneau's letter has prompted an urgent question. To what extent has the WEF penetrated the Canadian government? What is the full scale of collaboration between globalist forces and the Trudeau administration to secretly impose the WEF's technocratic agenda on Canada? This should come as no surprise given the Trudeau government's extensive ties and fawning support for the WEF's mission. But the letter provides smoking gun evidence that the WEF has captured Canada's decision-making apparatus to a frightening degree. It proves there are shadowy projects underway between the WEF and the Liberals aimed at undermining Canadian sovereignty and liberty. The Trudeau Liberals are already actively involved in at least 2 WEF initiatives, including the Known Traveller Digital Identification, or the KTDI project, and the Agile Nations Network. KTDI seeks to develop a digital credential system for international travel by plane, whereas Agile Nations proposes a foundation for the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which includes gene editing and artificial intelligence. Canada joined the latter in November 2020, a few months after Morneau resigned as finance minister and MP. Morneau's vague letter hints at even darker and more worrying collaborations between the WEF globalists and their liberal puppets. Projects so unethical and anti-democratic they must be kept secret from the public at all costs. Clearly, these concealed joint ventures go far beyond the normal scope of the finance ministry's role, pointing to huge backroom schemes dictated by the WEF's dystopian agenda, with Trudeau and his allies eagerly doing what they are told. In their view, the government has already laid the groundwork for a Chinese-style social credit system, where each citizen will be tracked and surveilled, their every transaction monitored, and freedom dependent on loyalty to the state. Also, the WEF sees Canada as an ideal testing place for the model before implementing it across Western nations. Powerful AI analyzes massive databases to assign threat scores. Privileges are granted or denied. Money becomes programmable and speech punishable. The government can cut off dissidents or undesirables from the economy with the press of a button, like what happened in the Freedom Convoy by freezing bank accounts. But even worse, no longer citizens, but digital servants at the mercy of unelected elites and their algorithms. Canada already collaborates with the UN, Gates, and other globalist bodies to normalize digital ID as a requirement for travel or accessing services. The pandemic accelerated this agenda, and dictatorships like China provided the model. All that remains is connecting the present systems into an inescapable surveillance network, tying every man, woman, and child to an all-powerful technocratic state. No dissent possible. The WEF's technocratic vision will be realized via capture of cooperative puppets like Trudeau. In this dystopian perspective, Morneau's letter is the tip of the iceberg, exposing globalist Trudeau co-opting Canada's democracy to deprive citizens of self-determination in favor of centralized domination. And the astronomical sums of taxpayer money being funneled to the World Economic Forum by the government is further evidence of the WEF's capture of Canada. It was recently revealed that tens of millions in payments were made to the WEF since 2015, the same year Trudeau became Prime Minister. In December 2015 alone, a payment of $10 million was made to the WEF from Global Affairs Canada. The following September saw another $6 million payment. And in 2020, nearly $6 million more was handed over to support the WEF's Global Plastic Action Partnership. So since 2015, the WEF has extracted over $20 million from Canadian taxpayers, and that's only what's on the official record. The true total may be far higher when accounting for covert payments. All this money being given to an unaccountable foreign organization dedicated to destroying sovereignty and freedom. The WEF wants to remake the world and all human activity in its technocratic image, an authoritarian future where free choice is obsolete and every action is monitored and controlled from above. This is the reality taking shape in China with its nightmarish social credit system, where one wrong move means exclusion and punishment. The WEF's open admiration of China's surveillance model reveals their true intentions. Morneau's letter proves the WEF is already well on its way to imposing this neo-feudalist order on Canada. No wonder he praises them. Globalist puppets like Morneau and Trudeau have sold out our country for their own power and prestige. His words should alarm every freedom-loving Canadian. Canada is in a critical moment where losing more ground to the WEF and their puppet Trudeau could mean crossing a point of no return. The WEF agenda aided by Trudeau means erasing everything that makes Canada unique. It means replacing constitutional freedoms with technocratic slavery dictated by the needs of multinational corporations and foreign interests. It means tracking every economic transaction, censoring dissent, and turning rights into privileges handed out by unaccountable elites through digital ID schemes. This dystopia is the end goal of the WEF's promised sustainability and inclusion into a digital panopticon prison where liberty is dead and free will obsolete. The pandemic provided the perfect pretext to rapidly advance their decades-long agenda. Under the guise of following the science, leaders like Trudeau were all too happy to act as enforcers of WEF-approved policies that just happen to align with authoritarian social control. This is also evident in Trudeau's latest Orwellian online harms bill as it continues to threaten Canadians' free speech. Check out our video on this dystopian double-speak bill. Canadians must permanently reject the false promise of technocracy before it forever extinguishes liberty as known. There must be demands for a full public investigation into the clandestine cooperation between WEF globalists and the Trudeau liberals. All details of their collusion need to be brought to light, and politicians who enabled WEF infiltration must be swiftly voted out. Canada must reclaim its sovereign democracy from corporate interests. In India, the end stage of WEF designs is being witnessed through the world's largest digital ID program. The WEF's decade-long campaign to promote digital identity and digital payments in India has led to a surveillance state where privacy is dead and dissent is silenced via exclusion from the economy. The WEF's promotion of Aadhaar, India's digital ID system, as being key for unlocking economic growth ignores how it also unlocked the personal details of 1 billion people following a massive data breach. WEF President Borgud Brende at Trade Tech Forum in UAE, which runs alongside the WTO Ministerial Conference, discusses his digital totalitarian model.
India. I was there last week, and India is growing this year, we think, more than 7%. That was also the growth last year. And what was at the core of this growth in India? It was that they were very well positioned in a situation where now digital trade and services do grow much faster. But they also started with something that was a key for unlocking this, was the digital IDs. So, as we know, 1.4 billion people all have their unique digital ID.
The WEF envisions this digital totalitarian model that has emerged in India for every nation. But citizens must not allow Canada to go down the same concerning path of centralized identification databases enabling unprecedented tracking, tracing, and control over populations. This cryptic letter that the Canadian government has been taken over by questionable global forces that want to undermine the country's independence. Trudeau, and his World Economic Forum partners have already put in place the basis for unreasonable tyranny beyond anything seen before. Soon, even speaking out against their authoritarian technocracy may become impossible as rights change into conditional privileges determined by algorithms. Money itself is weaponized for social control. Every citizen is constantly tracked, traced, and altered to serve elite goals. The last bits of free will on the edge of extinction. The WEF cancer must be permanently removed before it consumes the country's vital organs. Puppet Trudeau must be relegated to the dustbin of history alongside all traitors who enabled this foreign takeover. Well, that's all for now. What will remain of our sovereignty and liberty after Trudeau hands the keys to Canada over to the anti-human WEF technocrats? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And if you haven't, please subscribe and leave a like for this video. Your support helps us continue our work. You can also subscribe to our newsletter, where we share daily uncensored and unbiased news straight to your inbox. You can find the link in the description below. Thanks again for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.